It's just a man watching a basketball game, of course. Kayleb Williams, man, hits headlines again. I actually saw this video on Twitter today. And at first, I didn't notice anything. I didn't notice a pink phone. I didn't notice any nail polish. I didn't notice any lipstick or maybe a shiny chapstick. Is this weird? Yeah, absolutely, because I've never seen a quarterback do this. Recently, he wore a dress. Not sure what that was all about. But I'm excited to see what he does in the draft. But yeah, this caught me off guard for sure. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. As always, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, this is interesting.
Now let's pull up some Oklahoma news for the Oklahoma people up in here. This is something that Thunder OU Center sent me, but this ain't the exact article that he sent me. I don't know why they got a Washington jackass up here. From Athlon Sports, being among college football's top quarterbacks demands a hefty payday in the NIL era. Blah, 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 blah. Arch Manning, Carson Beck, Florida's DJ Lagway lead the group with valuations of $3.8 million heading into the 2025 season. There isn't much of a monetary drop-off for unrenowned passers either, as a report on Wednesday revealed that Washington State transfer quarterback Jihn Mateer, who signed with Oklahoma Sooners on a deal worth $3 million per year. Damn. That's a lot of money for a quarterback that really hasn't come in and exactly proven himself in a big-time atmosphere. I wouldn't consider Washington State and the Pac-2 a big-time atmosphere. That's a lot of money, in my opinion. I mean, I hope y'all know what you're doing, man. I hope it works out for you because I really like to see Oklahoma return to being the Oklahoma that we all know that they should be. Says Oklahoma head coach Brent Venables struggled to find consistency at the position last year behind Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins Jr. The Sooners finished 6-7, blah, blah, blah. Faced with some tough decisions to address the offensive issues, Oklahoma responded by bringing in Ben Arbuckle out of Washington State as well as Jihn Mateer. It says Mateer is a 6'1", 219 pounds, had never logged a start before taking over as a redshirt sophomore in 2024, originally a 3-star. Recruit went on to complete 64.6 of his passes, 3,139 yards, and 29 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, while adding 826 yards rushing. So he must be a pretty fast guy. He almost rushed for 1,000 yards for a quarterback and threw for 3,000 yards. That's pretty impressive. Mateer will have some competition to win the starting role as Hawkins returns after logging 3 starts for the Center as a freshman. So Oklahoma began spring practice last week, and the period will end and culminate with a scrimmage game on April the 12th, which is not accurate because it's not going to be a scrimmage game. It's going to be a combine. Athlon Sports. So, for all you Sooners out there, what do y'all think about that? Now, I've always heard, I mean, it's something you can brag about, really. Like, look, we're paying people too. We got the money. We're throwing out the big dollars. But it's a double-edged sword to me. You know, what if you pay $3 million for this guy and he either flops or gets injured? Just saying. I think it's getting out of control. And I think Alabama probably did the same thing with Jalen Miller last year. I believe we paid him like $2.5 million, $3 million, something like that. And when we give him the money before the season, and look how he played. He played like shit. They get that money sometimes. They get lackadaisical, and they just go out there and they put it on cruise control. And some of them even lay down. I had Killer Breeze tell me numerous times that he thought that some of those wide receivers that were supposedly injured weren't really injured. They were just laying down and drawing a check on Oklahoma's dime. So I don't know, man. I'll be glad when they come out with the new rules and revenue share and all this other stuff and make rules to where teams like Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio stink, so they can't do stuff like that, because all we're doing is breaking each other for players that haven't even really earned $3 million, in my opinion. Yeah, he looked great at Washington State, but he hadn't done that in the SEC. So why pay him that much? I guess you had to, because if you hadn't, somebody else would have, right? Nakia Webb says Oklahoma invests millions of dollars into its Sooners team. BV, you said VB. BV needs to be tougher on them, boys. We're in just for the cashola. I'm afraid I'm losing interest in college football. I'm with you, brother. I told everybody, if the new rules that they're implementing this year with the NCAA do not have some teeth, do not make them start abiding by certain rules, if they don't have it to where they're leaving in the middle of the year now. Bear Alexander was the biggest one. He was at USC and he left in the middle of the year. They need to make them sign contracts. And they need to have rules against tampering. That's simple, man. All they got to do, and I know they don't want to take advice from the NFL because they try to consider themselves a different entity altogether, but we all know they're just a farm system for the NFL. They need to get with the NFL and see what they did and get with their legal teams so they can curb the stupid-ass lawsuits that are brought by normally not the young men, but their stupid relatives and nefarious agents out there, especially the relatives, man. Relatives are living vicariously through these kids, and they're trying to get their piece of the pie to go along with their kids. George Stoa says $3 million will be the total over 2 years if Mateer stays that long. $3 million over 2 years. Okay, so that's $1.5 million. You're still paying over $1 million for a player. Just saying. I know everybody else is doing it, so y'all got to do it. That's why they got to come this year and put some rules in place with some teeth. Just like Nakia Webb said, I'm getting a little aggravated with it. If it's not taken care of this year, because I love college football, I'm going to stick around at least for another year or two. I'm going to start just watching NFL. And I never thought I'd say that. But at least with the NFL, like I've said 100,000 times on here, at least they have rules in place that keep you from having your team tampered with and players leaving after half a year. Nobody got two hats up there right now. Oh, you see my finger right here? There it is. Oh, too far. Right there. All right. Dallas and New Orleans. Those are the two teams I'm considering. I'm going to put them on the table one day, and I'm going to make me a decision like these diva recruits do. We got Larry Trawick in the house. He's our resident Nebraska guy. Cornhuskers, in here, you know what 3 means with Matt Rule Day. In here, you know what year 3 means with Matt Rule. Well, yeah, if Matt Rule goes to form like he has in his coaching career in year 3, Matt Rule usually has a pretty good team. One that usually wins double digits, maybe more. It's just talking about Nebraska, Larry. There's also rumors that Nebraska wants to go back to the Big 12. You know, I lit those guys up in my last podcast, the Locked On Big 12. I call them, it's called Locked On Big 12, but I call them Locked On with Left Behind Conference because they are the Left Behind Conference. You know, Oklahoma and Texas left behind, and they're still pining for them and making little silly-ass videos about them coming back to the Big 12 like they did. Now, I could be wrong, and Oklahoma might go back to the Big 12. It might not be a bad idea. I'm not saying that Oklahoma scared the SEC. I'm just saying that the SEC may have overloaded itself, in my opinion. We got too many football powers in this conference, which means that somebody's got to lose. And what's going to normally happen probably is like last year, people just beating up on each other. Alabama would beat South Carolina, or Alabama would beat like who was it? Georgia, or we beat like Georgia, and Georgia turn around and lose to a team that beat them, and another team that beat them. They just taking turns beating up on each other. It just makes no sense, man. for the SEC to have so many football powers. We need to expand our portfolio, our resume, so to speak, and start taking some basketball brand schools. Although this year in basketball, the SEC owns college basketball now. That may be where it's going. If football ends up going broke and screws itself by, acquiescing to all these spoiled ass brats, then basketball may be where it's at, because it's probably a lot less money that you have to invest. You don't have as many players on the team that you have to pay, and the equipment's cheaper. The stadium upkeep's cheaper. Everything's cheaper about basketball, and basketball brings in millions and millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions, probably hundreds of millions of dollars. Not as much as football, but if football ends up breaking itself, we all may be wanting to be basketball fans before long.